Okay, I'd like to call to order the March 7th, 2024 Oak Ridge Town Council meeting to order. We'd like to open with the invocation. Please stand as you're able and introduce. And our Phyllis Anders is going to lead us in the invocation. Phyllis has done amazing things for our town.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we come to you asking for guidance, for wisdom, and for support for the Oak Ridge Town Council and others as they bring forth the business covered tonight at this meeting. I pray that the council will have meaningful discussions and reach the best decisions affecting our town and its residents. Help respect to always be present one for another. Help us to think before we speak and bring forth the best in each of us. Help our council to have the wisdom they need to always make the right decisions for us, even if we do not agree at the time. Thank you, Lord, for all the accomplishments this council and those councils before us have provided for us to enjoy. Oak Ridge has truly been blessed, and I pray that we always rely on you and look to you for our guidance in every move. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I meant to mention Mayor Crawford up in Stokesdale is under the weather a little bit, so please keep him in your thoughts. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. I want to take special notice. We have the student ambassadors from Northwest Middle School in the back. They've been helping out with handing out agendas, and just helping us out a lot. They are selling candy bars, not tonight, but if you know someone from the school, please reach out to them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to sell you some candy bars. So these are the young people in the back in the red shirts. Thank you as always. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. You can do this in one motion or two. We'd like to approve the minutes of the February 1st meeting and also the February 14th special meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution proclamation announcements. We have a special proclamation. Terry Lannon has been our Parks and Rec Director since the beginning of our parks, so we'd like to offer a proclamation he's retiring. We're very sorry to see him go, but we're very happy for him to, in this case, his life. So, proclamation. Whereas Terry Lannon was hired as the Town of Oak Ridge Parks and Recreation Director in 2007, and whereas Lannon has been present since ground was broken at Oak Ridge Town Park, building it into the crown jewel of the Town of Oak Ridge, and under his direction has helped to create athletic fields that have garnered local, regional, and even national recognition, and whereas Lannon has established a staff that shares his dedication, attention to detail, and unwavering commitment to excellence, and whereas the Parks and Recreation Department staff has cared not only for Oak Ridge Town Park, but also the landscaping around the Welcome to Oak Ridge signs, the trails at the Cascades Preserve, the grounds at Town Hall, and has set the stage with their expertise as the town readies for the opening of the new Heritage Farm Park. And whereas Terry Lannon's sound counsel and advice has proven invaluable in promoting informed decision-making and fostering constructive outcomes, and whereas Lannon has worked not only with the town council and staff, but with numerous volunteer committees and organizations, including the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Tree Board, Special Events Committee, Canine Capers Committee, Heritage Day Committee, Scout Troops, Oak Ridge Youth Association, and countless other groups holding events and tournaments at town facilities. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, with all the members of Town Council, do hereby extend heartfelt congratulations to Terry Lannon upon his retirement from the town of Oak Ridge and wish him the best in all his future endeavors. So, So, anyone like to make any comments at the moment?
Well, I had wanted to say something. Oh, go ahead.
Being a new councilman, I've just known Terry really since probably June, and really didn't know too much about what he did, but he gave me a great 2-hour tour of our park and the future park, and introduced me to his team. And I've recognized him in that short period of time as to be a tremendous asset and one that we will miss, and it's a shame to lose him, but he's been working to develop other people to take his place. So we'll miss Terry.
Ms. Schneider?
Well, Terry doesn't like attention, which is why he's not here tonight, but I'll simply say that his years of vision, effort, and experience have been central to everything we've accomplished, and our parks truly are crown jewels because of him. And these parks are beloved because of the dedication that he has poured into building and maintaining them. Although it hardly seems sufficient, I can only say thank you to Terry from the bottom of our hearts.
Mr. Greason?
Enjoy your retirement.
Terry, as Ms. Schneider mentioned, Terry's a private person, but the one thing I've always really appreciated about him is he will tell you things straight. He's not there to tell you what you want to hear. He's there to tell you what you need to hear. So he's never minced words. He's been very polite and courteous, but he's always been very direct. And that means a lot because you get the information unvarnished and you know exactly where he stands and the information you need to act on it. But yes, the parks are great. The amazing thing is he's left us in great hands. Brock is taking over, leading the team. So he's left us in great hands. So again, Terry's done a wonderful job for us, and we wish him the best. Thanks. Okay, do we have anyone from the Sheriff's Department here? No? Okay, the reports are in the back. One thing that has happened, we had a couple smash and grabs recently. I was at a meeting with the commissioners, and I actually spoke with one of the Sheriff's Department members, and he flat out said the biggest way to stop this is stop leaving things out in the open. I believe 2 of them were not even smash and grabs, they were just open the door and reach in and get what they want. So he says that they can catch them sometimes, but then someone just replaces them. So the biggest thing we need to do is stop leaving things out in the open in your cars. Okay. Oak Ridge Fire Department?
Sam Anders, 1829 Oak Ridge Road, Assistant Chief, Oak Ridge Fire and Rescue. Just bear with me. I'm the pinch hitter. I'm the reserve. But as far as with the fire department, don't have numbers with me. However, it was a fairly busy month in February. We had everything from 2-degree temperatures with single-digit wind chill, all the way to the wonderful 60 degrees and all that we've had. We've had a lot of rain. So there's a couple of things with this indicating spring is on the way. We'd like to ask you to think about a few things. Now, when the time change comes, when you change your time, change your clocks, change the batteries in your smoke detectors. Also check your smoke detectors. The newer ones last about 10 years. They don't have battery, they have a sealed battery. And so when it gets to the end of the life, you can't change the batteries. You have to take it down and get a new one. But they are much more effective, and they got lithium-ion batteries in them, built into them and sealed. But if you have a unit that does take batteries, it's always good to switch them out every time you change your clocks. The other thing, with the weather changing, we're going from frozen ground to thawing, and the grass is coming, and that makes people get the itch to go out and work in the yard. That's great. Please be very careful. Do not burn your yard waste and everything like that. You can go online, either through our website or go to the state forestry, and you can get a permit. And it doesn't cost anything. It's just a permit. It sends out a notice. We know that you're burning in that area. But a lot of times people will get the itch to go and burn. The ground is very wet. It's hard to access, and it can run the top of the ground and go get in your neighbor's woods or in your neighbor's yard before you realize it. So that's a typical springtime thing. And with one last thing, we'd like to ask everybody in Oak Ridge to please do us all a favor. take an extra second at intersections, look both ways, look again. We ran a call on Sunday evening where, driver looked, didn't think anything was coming, pulled out and got hit directly in the door. Thank God, all the drivers were fine, but one car ended up on its roof. But just a little extra time at our intersections, a little extra time when you're getting ready to make that turn. Just please, everybody just take a few more seconds and look and make sure you're safe. I would rather you be a few seconds later than to have to see me or one of the big old boys with the cutting tools getting you out. But that's the safety message for the month, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move to the first public comment section. If you'd like to say something, please raise your hand, come up, give us your name and address, and have your say. Debbie?
Debbie Schoenfeld, 8501 San Siro Farm Court, Oak Ridge. I just wonder where Terry Lannon's going to live now.
I believe he's going back to Georgia, isn't he?
That's it.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ben Walraven, 5931 Pepper Road. I haven't been to a meeting since December, but there was a discussion about breaking up the budget of the Veterans Honor Green because of the budget, and I'm wondering where we're at on that. I know that we're supposed to start part of the construction this spring, and I'm wondering if the following construction, which is for the shaded area, the walkway area, is going to be able to be completed kind of like immediately after you finish the main monument area, so that you have one seamless construction period, but it's over 2 fiscal years.
We don't typically answer questions at the moment.
Sorry?
We don't typically answer questions, but we'll get to that.
No, I know, but it was indicated that there would be $60,000 in the next budget for completion of that shaded area, and I know you're in your financial planning process right now, and I want to make sure that that's not forgotten about.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? With that, we'll close this session, and we'll move on to the town manager report. Mr. Bruce, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Kinnaman. First item for your consideration this evening is appointment of Caroline Ruck as a full member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Is there a motion to approve appointment of Carolyn Ruck?
I move that we approve the appointment of Caroline Ruck as a full member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
She's already done great work as an alternate, helping with planning and getting sponsors for music in the park. So she dived right in as an alternate, and she'll be a great member.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Secondly, a request to appoint John Garrett as an alternate to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Is there a motion to approve John Garrett?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? John has been a great asset to the committee, so I think it's a good move to keep him on the board. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
The next request is consideration and approval of a Parks Superintendent position in the Parks and Recreation Department. In your packets, there is a job description that will actually replace the current crew leader position in the Parks and Rec Department. This new position is designed to take on many of the supervisory, facility management, and equipment management roles directly related to the day-to-day operation of the town park, Heritage Farm Park, and any other town-owned properties that the department maintains. Some of these duties had been previously assigned to the Parks and Recreation Director. The new positions proposed partly in response to the difficulty we had in finding candidates with the requisite skills and experience needed to fill the varied roles that Terry Lannon provided as the Parks and Recreation Director. Consequently, I'm proposing that that position at this time will remain unfilled, and the portion of Terry's duties that would not be handled by the park superintendent would be handled by town hall staff at this time. Looking into the future, there are several different options for the long-term structure of the department, but we're confident that this new position will be vital in ensuring day-to-day operation, and those needs that will be handled effectively regardless of the departmental structure that's proposed at a future date. So my request is to approve the park superintendent position at pay grade 14, which is also included in your package.
And we already have someone to fill this position?
Yes, we do. We'll be promoting from within to fill this position.
I think it'd be appropriate before we make a motion, if anyone has any questions. Anyone have any questions on the position that they'd like to ask? Okay. If not, is there a motion to approve the request?
I move that we approve the park superintendent position at pay grade 14 as documented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, this is a well-thought-out and much-needed staffing adjustment, in my opinion. I understand from talking to our town manager that we have a dedicated current member of the Parks and Staff team ready to take on these responsibilities, which also includes some interim responsibilities until we decide how to address the longer-term administrative duties of the position. I know that this new position, working with our existing staff, will work well, and I know our existing administrative staff will work to assess the future needs and how to craft the right position to complement this. And I think that's important that we do that over the next several months so that we don't get into a long-term, that we don't rely on this as a long-term fix. I just don't want those administrative duties to either be neglected or fractured or stuck into other people's job descriptions long-term where they don't belong. And I do also understand that one of the reasons we weren't able to find a candidate to fill Terry's currently very large shoes was partly due to the unusual combination of turf management and administrative duties. But it was also because our current salary ranges are already out of whack again after only 2 years of inflation since our last salary survey. So I just would like to urge our town manager and this council and our finance committee to consider funding an update to our salary survey in the next annual budget. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, I had the opportunity.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I had the opportunity to talk with Brock and Terry earlier this week when I was up here. As stated, I think he's ready to take on the additional responsibilities. And hopefully he will learn further and maybe in the future be able to add more than just the turf management and management of the park responsibilities. But I think he's ready to take the reins, and I think he's ready to go.
Mr. Greason, you have any comments? I agree that this is a step in the right direction to break this up into 2 roles so that we can better match it to the skill sets and also have a better chance of filling the positions. I encourage you not to wait too long, because right now other staff members are going to take some of those responsibilities over, and we don't want them to get overloaded either. So, take your time, but don't dally if you need to, so we don't overwhelm the staff. With that said, is there a motion to, we've already approved that, right? Well, we haven't voted. Okay, we've made the motion.
And it's been seconded.
Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
that
sure.
for reminding me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. The next request is a consideration to approve Deer Urban Archery Season for 2025, and those dates would be January 11th through February 16th.
You want to maybe give a little bit of background for the new members?
Sure. This is simply an extension of deer season that is limited to land within the town limits of Oak Ridge. Just a reminder that we don't have any public land that can be hunted, so you have to get property owner permission to do that, and of course follow all appropriate state guidelines. But it does extend the season within the town limits of Oak Ridge.
Okay. One other bit is, one of the reasons this is probably important is that as we get more and more houses, it makes it very difficult to hunt with a gun. Because you have to be, what, I think 150 yards away from a house to use a gun for hunting. With archery season, it allows that deer hunting to be, actually continue to be held in town. So, is there a motion to approve the archery season for 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Lastly, I just want to announce and/or remind everyone that there is a special called meeting of the Town Council to be held here at Town Hall on Monday, March the 11th at 11 a.m. The agenda is posted on our website, and mostly it consists of discussion and consideration of policies and procedures regarding council, committees, and staff.
All right, thank you. Any other business?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, we move on to new business. Consideration and approval of the 2024-01 solid waste franchise ordinance. You're going to present that, Mr. Bruce?
The town's exclusive franchise agreement with GFL Environmental expires on March the 31st. GFL has requested a renewal for an additional 3 years, which is the term that is allowed in the agreement. GFL Environmental, which is formerly Waste Industries, has held the exclusive franchise for waste collection in Oak Ridge since at least 2009, which is the date of this agreement. According to the agreement, rates can be increased or decreased in proportion to the percentage change in the Consumer Price Index, with no increase to exceed 3% per year. There are additional allowances for price increases for other operational costs that are outside of GFL's control. The monthly rates proposed for the current renewal are a 3% increase over last year's rates. Trash will be $19.21 a month, recycling $1.16 a month. I will say that we've been very pleased with the service of GFL. We rarely have complaints at Town Hall. When they do arise, the team at GFL is very responsive in getting those complaints resolved. I will note that the ordinance approving the franchise needs to be read at 2 successive meetings. So should it be approved this evening, we'll add it to the April agenda as well.
Do we have to vote on it tonight?
Yes.
So we'll basically vote on it twice? Okay, understood. Representatives from GFL are here if we have any questions. Is there a motion to approve the franchise agreement?
Make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
They provide great service, and I don't hear many complaints, and I'm grateful that they're here tonight. Thank you.
They're very efficient. If I'm late getting my garbage out, it's too late. They're very on time, so I appreciate that. So, okay, so we'll hear it again next month then. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next is the consideration approval of the 2024-29 capital improvement budget. We have that in our packet. Is there something you'd like to add to that?
No, I'd just note that this is the list that was agreed upon by consensus at the work session several weeks ago. It's in the proper form for council's approval.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the capital improvement program as presented?
I move that we approve the capital improvement program as presented.
And I'll second it. Any discussion? Anyone have any comments they'd like to add?
Well, I think it's important to say what this is. It's a 5 years plus outline of capital projects. And sometimes I have heard from residents, you know, why do we need excess in our general fund over what we need each year? Why don't we simply tax people for what we need for operations? This budget, you should take a look at it, will be on the town website, is why. So in other words, we know that we have we know that we have costs related to the intersection improvements, costs related to sidewalks that are going in, costs related to the planned water main, and we very conscientiously plan for those in successive years when we think they are going to hit. And there's no way we can continue to do those things, some of which are already committed completely with contracts, unless we continue to try to maintain sufficient funds in our general fund.
Any other comments? I have a couple. To your point about the Honor Green, we do have it in the capital improvement budget for next year for the Phase 2 of the Honor Green. It will depend on costs and whether or not, how things progress, so that's part of that. There was one other comment I wanted to make. One of the things, if you review this, you'll see that we have not taken on many new projects. We understand that to maintain our financial stability, we need to be very prudent with the projects we're taking on. While we have a lot of things that people want to get done, like pickleball courts and tennis courts and basketball courts and things like that, we just don't have the money right now to do that. We will be exploring getting grants and also talking to other funding sources. But to maintain our financial stability, if you look at our CIP plan, it's pretty thin for the next couple of years because we want to maintain our fund balance and be respectful of your tax dollars. With that said, is there a motion to, oh, we already did that? Am I already messing up on that? We haven't had a motion, have we?
We did have a motion.
Okay.
I made a
I
motion.
made it and I seconded it.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. I'll try to keep up.
We're there. We're fine.
All right, consideration and approval of priority list of funding for projects that's submitted to Phil Berger, Senator Berger, I apologize. Okay, so we have that on in a memorandum. Basically, the priorities are water, Phase 2, sidewalks, and the potential for a community and recreation center. Is there a motion to approve the memorandum to be submitted to Senator Berger?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? Mr. Harton, you have any comments?
There are 4 items on the list. One is an extra phase of the Town Core Loop of Water. Another part is to finish or to do Phase 2 of the Heritage Farm Park sidewalks that Mayor Kinnaman's already mentioned. There is a project which is really more exploratory, and that is to look for an opportunity down the road for a community recreation center for the town. We have discussed this in our CPI issue, and as I said, this project to me is, not a next year thing or not the next 5-year thing, but it clearly is something to explore and look for options. So I think with that being on the list, it's fine as long as it's understood that it's exploratory.
Ms. Schneider?
3 members of council voted to add this as an exploratory item, thinking long-term. I personally am not in favor of including this on a list that's a funding request to a senator because it hasn't been fully vetted. This, as briefly described in about 5 or 10 minutes of conversation at our capital improvement meeting, it's clear that this could cost between $10 and $20 million. So we have no idea of the actual scope, purpose, or cost. And even though I know that a majority want to explore this, and I'm always in favor of exploring ideas, I think it's not appropriate to include it in this letter because it was mentioned to Senator Berger verbally, but it doesn't belong in a letter because we don't even have the most basic kind of cost estimate. It's a kind of, at this point, it's kind of a pie in the sky item that needs probably a couple years of research to avoid having to raise taxes or float the bond issue that our Mayor Pro Tem suggested in our CIP meeting, apparently unaware that a bond issue is a tax increase. So, and we haven't even begun to talk about the operational costs of this kind of center. I mean, I have no idea. So I would support the first 3 items, but I can't vote for this if it includes the rec center, the 4th item.
Mr. Greason?
I'm good.
One of the reasons I'm in favor of including the community center on the list is because it is such a long-term project, is to get it kind of in their minds and start thinking about it. We made it very clear that this is a long-term project when Mr. Greason met with Senator Berger. But I think it's important when these kind of things come up that we start the process of making them aware of where we're thinking of going, so that, like I said, it makes it a little bit easier to make the case down the road instead of just springing on them the need for a 10 or a 15 or 5 million, or even to the town residents that we're all of a sudden going to say, hey, we're going to ask for a bond. This is definitely something we're going to take a long time talking with, seeing if the residents really want it. But I think it's important to get it on people's radar, and that's why I'm in favor of leaving it on the list right now. Like I said, Senator Berger is aware that this is a long-term thing. We just want to keep him aware of that this is something we're considering. So,
One last comment. You mentioned something that spurred my thinking. We did also talk about getting resident input. I also think we have never before presented something, even as a funding option, that we hadn't gotten resident input on already, and I think that's another reason why I can't support that being part of the request.
okay, I understand. With that said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay?
All right, so it's
Wait,
a tie.
did you say nay?
All right,
Oh, that's 2 nays.
so the motion does not carry. Excuse the motion fails. Okay,
Can I make
sure.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the priority list, including items 1 through 3, for submittal to Senator Berger for consideration of state funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I have no problem leaving it off for now, So all those in favor with the new motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, so it's carried 3-1. So we'll submit for 1 to 3. Thank you. And let's go back. Monthly financial update. Where's the popcorn?
Popcorn popper is in storage for the winter, but I can make arrangements once I get her out.
Okay,
That might actually improve attendance or whatever, at least to this part. If I got to stay for this to get to popcorn, I might get some more have a big crowd. Council, everyone should have gotten a copy of the financials by email and a copy of the finance officer's report. Do have a couple of additions at the bottom I will go over. But on the financials, if you'll turn and look at those, on the balance sheet, we're holding assets of $3.55 million with fund balance of $3.481 million, and of that, $1.889 million is committed to projects, capital projects. That's reserved for water, land acquisition, and that's the remainder of the loan proceeds for the town park that's under construction right now for this phase. So strong position. For the month, over on the next page, we brought in $293,436.28. Our collections on most items are running really close. Property taxes are, coming on in. The county's doing a good job with that. The tag and tax, or tax and tag, as it's called, with the motor vehicles, is coming in. We had $140,000 grant money come in from Guilford County for the 2 items that the county is supporting, which is, I believe, security and the additional playground area that is fully accessible at the new park. But overall, fairly normal month. Down at the bottom, you can see that for the Veterans Honor Green Phase 2, $6,500 came in during the month in donations. We posted everything. So expenses, over on the next page, we did spend $760,841.95. That was normal operating and also a large payment on the park. The park is getting into the short rows, as we used to say when you were finishing up a field of tobacco, which actually pulled tobacco where we're sitting or standing right now. So But overall, the project's going really well. We've got a good management team. Bill's been watching on it. The folks at the bank have been working with us very well. But it's starting to wind down on my end. We're getting closer and closer to writing those final checks. But overall, everything very stable, very good. Behind that, of course, is the sheet with the balance of the banks. We've got money at Truist, Bank of Oak Ridge, and Piedmont Federal. And we are, as usual, still monitoring for rate increases for more interest. We received an ACH wire transfer remitting taxes of $13,166.03 for property. Motor vehicle taxes $89,3039 from the tax department, totaling $22,096.42. That's all collections through the end of February. Monthly sales tax, property tax is normal. Interest for February was strong. Solid waste disposal came in for the month. The grant from Guilford County that I mentioned, special events, facility rental, and the Veterans Honor Green donations. Talked about the investments. During the month, we supported the staff with grant compliance as normal, the ARPA SCIF grants, the CIP process, Finance Committee meeting, and the work on potential water system. The amended audit contract has been approved by the LGC and has been paid. They held it and we paid it in with the last installment on the audit. The only other thing I've got is the budget amendment that you were briefed on by our town manager. The numbers are right there. We are reducing the consulting and hitting a little over $3,000 out of fund balance to bring everything into balance on those line items. I would ask that you approve that budget amendment by a separate vote. And then I've got one more item, and I'll be done with my finance committee report, or my finance report, excuse me.
Okay, so you'd like the budget amendment motion now?
Yes, sir, if you
Is there a
would.
motion to approve the budget amendment as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I have one last thing. And didn't want to stand up at the front because I can't just say nice things about Terry. In my realm here, I am the old codger. My employee number, I believe, was number 2 after Mayor Bill Parrish voluntold Lisa Veerling into being our first town clerk. He could smell out that we had a trained clerk in the community, and he hunted her down, and then he also wouldn't take no for an answer. I was voluntold into becoming the finance officer. And as time has gone by, we've increased staff, but I've worked with Terry a long, long time. And when they said they were hiring a parks director, I'm like, okay. So meet him, okay. Me and him got along. He's a good old boy. I think I am. We got along great. Terry's been easy to work with. And what people don't know is Terry has saved our community untold thousands of dollars. The best example, which is not known at this point in time, is we're building a park. Well, that's great. Parks have got to have garbage cans. They've got to have grills. They've got to have picnic tables. He approached me. We had in the capital budget, we had some things that got delayed due to COVID. He said, we need to order this with the long-range delivery dates. Terry locked us in, the tables, the grills, the garbage cans, the stuff nobody really thinks about until you get ready and you're walking around the park and, well, what are you going to do, stick the trash in your pocket? All of those things he got for us at pre-COVID prices. We got them in the supply chain. We got things while they were available. He monitored on equipment that council approved. We ordered early to avoid price hikes. We ordered early to make sure we had availability so that equipment will be dropping here in the very near future to help take care of that property. So Terry's not just thinking about the grass today and raking the field and everything like that. He was looking down the road, and compared to the price increases and everything that we have seen over the last 2 years, his foresight just on those minor things have saved us thousands and thousands of dollars on this entire project, from broadly looking at everything you got to have to run the park. He's been a good guy to work with, and I couldn't say goodbye to Terry tonight without including one thing. The one time that Sam Anders drove Terry Lannon absolutely berserk. As y'all know, we have to do the audit at the end of every year. Bill and them know we come and count everything. Jennifer comes in, gets with Sandra. We count all the chairs, we count the desks, we count the computers and all. I go over and count the equipment. Well, I'm over to counting the equipment. Well, some of it's out. The golf cart's in the shop. The keys are there. Sam puts A and B together, and I take off in the golf cart. Terry didn't know I was coming that morning. I kept noticing this vehicle that was running up Lisa, down Linville, back up Linville, back across. I was following the guys and hunting down where they were working with the equipment. Terry was burning the road up. And finally, I got to a point, I stopped to go in the barn and count stuff, and here comes Terry, and he bails out ready to fight. And he, what are you doing? Counting the equipment. I mean, with the golf cart. Well, Terry, the keys were there. So we had a good laugh, but that's the one time that I absolutely drove him crazy because he thought somebody was stealing it or joyriding and riding through the park and going where they shouldn't have. I think actually I went to the back to check the septic field and the dog park with it, but he's forgiven me, but we've had a good laugh. But Terry has been a delight to work with on the accounting side, on the budgeting. I could always count. Terry always had his budget, everything, pictures of the equipment, everything that I needed, could have ever dreamed of. Terry Lannon always had it. Never had to wait. He always was ahead of the curve, dead on. And I'm greatly going to miss him. I miss working with him. I will enjoy working with his replacement. I already have a good relationship. We worked with Brock. Brock gave me the ride this year. Terry gets him to give me a ride instead of turning me loose. So I get to be chauffeured. But it's going to be good moving forward. I'm happy he's moving forward with retirement. And Terry, I hope you hear this. I'm going to miss you, brother.
All right, we need a motion to accept the finance officer's report. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We have it. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. 3 minutes. Water Advisory Committee?
I don't think they met.
Okay, that's fine.
They did not meet.
Okay, Historic Preservation Commission?
Good evening, Debbie Schoenfeld, 8501 San Siro Farm Court, Oak Ridge. The Historic Preservation Commission held its regularly scheduled meeting on February 21st. We held our annual elections for chair and vice chair. I was elected or nominated and elected as chair. Denise Sachs was elected and nominated and elected as vice chair, and we're holding the same positions as we did last year. We approved a historic heritage grant for the Old Mill of Guilford. We discussed and approved HPC's fiscal year 24-25 budget and formed subcommittees for the projects we're planning. Our historic Oak Ridge book is being proofread. I'm optimistic that'll be completed by this weekend. We have a draft of the title page, the Verso title page and preface, and Sandra's finishing up choosing the photos. So we're well on our way to being to that point. That's all I have for tonight. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning and Zoning Board? Planning and Zoning Board, I'm sorry. Did they, Planning and Zoning Board, meet? Okay. All right,
Nobody
Mountain to the
knows.
Sea Trail? Mountain to the Sea Trail? Okay, Conservation Easement Committee?
They met.
Batting 1,000 here. Okay,
I could give a slight, quick report on that.
if you like, Mr. Taylor.
We have received 2 applications for our core grants, which is our grant opportunities are to provide for people to cover basically the legal expenses or other outside expenses concerned with either putting a preservation easement grant or preservation easement or a conservation easement on property or structures. We received 2 applications. One's for conservation easement and the other is for the structures, historic structures on a property. Both of these are located on within the western side of our town, pretty good adjacent to each other. And hopefully we'll have more, we had discussions on that, and we are going to create a process, a checklist that'll help us guide to put together to get those, to guide us to get better information to you all when you vote to approve or disapprove the grants.
Well, we need the full costs of each one
Yeah.
before we can bring it to this body.
Now, we also got a good news about some land.
Yes, we also received news that our grant through the Piedmont Land Conservancy has been approved from the state for the purchase of property on East Harrell Road. Last year, the town approved a $40,000 grant, matching grant to go with that. So we're currently working through the process on that as well.
How many acres is that?
That is close to 40 acres.
With about 8?
And approximately 8 of those would be developable. The rest is wetlands.
So this would be potential for recreational space or park space for the town.
Exactly. At a minimal cost to the town.
Excellent. Any questions? Okay. Special Events Committee, I know we got that.
Patty Domchowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. Veterans Honor Green, work is progressing on the start of construction. Mark Reeves from Revington Reeves has been working with Bill Bruce on coordinating the requirements. I've sent out emails to all our Stars and Stripes donors that are entitled to a free paver and asked for their engravings. I've also created a Polar engraving database. That's the company in Florida that's going to do the actual engraving on the pavers. On all the paver requests that we have received. And our committee's going over them and checking them and making sure all the spelling's correct and the abbreviations are correct. We're also going to do a social media blitz and an ad in the Northwest Observer to ask folks to get their request in before the end of March for pavers so we can order them. And our totals since January 2024, which we start phase 2 for the boardwalk, and I have $8,800 because in the past week, we've gotten additional paver input. And I expect the total to grow with the push for the pavers. I also attended the meeting for the CIP, and I want to thank the council for considering the veterans as one of the projects on there. So thank you very much. The committee reviewed and submitted our budget for 2025, and we're waiting again on the financial committee and Bill if there's anything that they want to discuss on it. Our next event will be Memorial Day here at the Town Hall. Any questions?
Thank you. Tree Committee?
Didn't meet.
They didn't meet, but they did, oh, I'm sorry, yes, we have, yes, they.
Oh.
I'm John Browning, 8024 Linville Road. Instead of our stuffy inside meeting that's normally held today, we had an outside hands-on training session Tuesday, which was really beneficial. So members of our tree committee, the outgoing and the incoming park directors were both there in true Terry Landon fashion. I think his last day is tomorrow, but he was with us Tuesday and appreciated his attendance with us, and, as well as the whole park staff. We had 2 guys from Guilford County Cooperative Extension, Ben Grandam and Taylor Jones, who came out. And again, it was a hand-on workshop. We drove around the park and looked at all the, had best practices for planting, watering, mulching, and just taking care of trees. So it was real beneficial for everybody. So we developed a good relationship with the extension folks, and they come out, free of charge and talk to us, and we may offer another workshop more for citizens maybe later on this year, but that was the extent of what we did in our meeting, but it was good to be outside, so we did meet Tuesday, but thank you. Any questions or comments?
Are you going to do Parks and Rec also?
I'm going to do Parks and Rec.
You can stay
Can
where you are then.
John Brang, again, 8024 Linville Road. Here to give you the activities report for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We had our meeting February 15th in person and by Zoom, but we did have a pre-meeting celebratory meal for Terry Landon. We gave him the choice. We were either going to do takeouts from Ruth Chris Steakhouse or Jersey Mike's subs. And those of y'all that know Terry probably know what we ate. So anyway, but we do appreciate Terry's efforts to make this park the good place that it is, and the place we're all proud of. And he's made our committees between he and Ashley just made our lives so much easier and smoother with his input. So going forward, I do appreciate your approval of Caroline Ruck and John Garrett, and I appreciate John's co-chairmanship with me. He's been a good colleague to work with, and again, I'm going to remain co-chairman with Adrian Eckenrod, so we're all looking forward to working with you. So again, we had an action-packed meeting. We approved a vendor to operate the concession stands, the brick building there at the town park. He's to start Monday and is scheduled Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 in the evenings, and Saturdays and Sundays, 9 to 4, basically just during the spring sports season. The best in ballpark cuisine is going to be what he offers: hot dogs, pizza, and occasionally brisket, I think. So it's a pretty good menu, and we're happy to support the Youth Association, having somebody to at least have some meals to offer these busy families that come and play and are at the park. So we're looking forward to that. We're so thankful for our past Eagle Scout projects, and we have approved another excellent project, we believe. Andrew Gunter, our local Eagle Scout, has proposed a hammock garden. It's a series of 6x6 treated posts that can be installed, and folks can hang 6 to 8 hammocks up on those supports. And he had requested, and I think it's going to work out good, the lower back Yost Field, quiet, out-of-the-way place for that hammock area. So we're looking forward to getting that hammock park open this spring. We did approve a request by the MST committee to install a kiosk, informational bulletin board, near the Flag Retirement Pit and the Grapevine, right along there, just so the folks that hike those trails can know that we have a place they could camp there, and plus just information about the trail itself and the park. It's going to be 60% of the size of the other kiosks, so it's going to be a lot smaller, so we thought it would blend in pretty well. And the MST committee is going to fund that board, so we're happy for that. We did approve, oh no, I better talk fast, another fun run, and Patty's giving me one of her minutes, she said, Sandra. Anyway, a fun run in a 5K fun run in a spring celebration. It's by HELP, H-E-L-P group, Holistic Empowerment for Lifelong Progress. They had, it's basically to support immigrant families and help them get accustomed to the United States and Oak Ridge, and they had a fall festival this fall. It was a real success for everybody, so they're going to come back this year. Again, excited about the opening of the Heritage Farm Park, tentative date May 4th, if we can get the bathrooms and the inclusive playground up and going. Apparently Duke Energy's our holdup now, so May 4th is our tentative date, and we hope we can make that. Music in the Park just around the corner, March we're going to have a lineup of bands announced March 24th, and Barefoot Modern is going to be our April 13th band. So again, we're excited about a good series of Music in the Park coming up. So thank y'all for your time. Any questions or comments?
Thanks,
Okay, good.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Finance Committee. We had our initial meeting. We just basically reviewed prior numbers and forecast for revenue. Well, we didn't have forecast for revenue yet, did we? Just history.
A review of the current budget year and projections for year end.
Right, okay.
And Finance Committee will meet again on March the 21st.
Okay.
Nope, 18th, March the 18th.
And it's important, these meetings are open to the public, so you can see the whole process of the budget being put together, so you can see where all the numbers come from. So I encourage you to attend if you're interested in where your tax dollars are going. We lean on the Finance Committee heavily to tell us where we are and where we can go with the money we have.
And it's a good experience committee.
Yeah. Oak Ridge Military Academy, Oak Ridge Elementary, Oak Ridge Youth Association. And second public comment section. Please raise your hand, be recognized, state your name and address, and you have the floor for 3 minutes to talk about anything you like. Yes, sir, in the back.
Michael Logan, 5202 Rambling Road. School Board. I'd like to invite you out to the school board March 19th. This missing members of the Northwest community being at that board. On March 12th, there will be a meeting with county commissioners at Page High School. I suggest you attending that as representatives of Oak Ridge also. So just come out to the meetings, be involved in the community.
What time?
School board meetings start at 6 o'clock. The county commissioners is, I believe it was at 6:30, and that is at Page High School. And I will say, if you look over, they are doing 3 different meetings. One is going to be at Harrison Middle School on the 11th. On the 12th, it's going to be at Page High School, and that is the one where Pat Tillman will be at. And then there will be another one in High Point at the Newcomers School. Now, I will go ahead and point out observation. Our county commissioners are not coming out in the county. So we're going to have to go to them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sam, I think you had your hand up next.
Sam Andrews, 1829 Oak Ridge Road. Changing hats. I'm the owner and managing member of SKA Properties. I've had a lot of folks' questions and things coming into my office on what was going on at the corner and everything. I just wanted to kind of give a little brief update. What that was hopefully the final phase that will put an end to the remnants of anything that's left from the gas leak from about 26 years and 7 months ago. The reason I know so precisely, Linda Blaylock, the engineer that had watched over this, when I first met her in 22, said that that had been 25 years that had been on the books, and she hoped that she would see it closed before she retired. Well, Linda retired on January the 31st. They came in on the 6th. They had started mobilizing, and what Diener did, they have a contractor, and Diener has tested and all this stuff for decades now. They are using a new technology. They created a powder. It's a blend of things that will neutralize the benzene, any of the remnants of the gas that was leaked out in the 70s and 80s. They mix it with water, make it into a slurry. They drilled 60 holes across the parking lot up there, 2-inch holes, and that big, funny-looking hydraulic thing sticking up in the air is how it was described to me. That was a drill, and it drilled down, and it injected this every place above, below, and through the contaminated soil. They've already removed the tanks and all of that stuff. So this was a new technology. They've had, when they first talked to me about it last summer, they were supposed to be here in July, but due to a medical emergency, the contractor had to cancel. Everything was good. They mobilized, came in. Some of that equipment came in from Kentucky. But they mixed the slurry. They injected it in 60 places, varying depths from 10 to 20 foot down, and neutralized, hopefully, everything that was a remnant from 26 years and 7 months ago when it was first discovered and handled. So NC Diener was wonderful to work with. Withers Ravenel, the engineering firm that they used out of Raleigh, we have had relations with on some other municipal projects. Everybody on their team was great, worked with myself, my builder. Couldn't ask for anything any better. But we have high hopes. They'll still do probably some additional testing on wells and all like that because they have test wells scattered all over that part of Oak Ridge. But the hopes are that this is a permanent final cap to that era. And like I said, Diener they've used this. They used it actually in eastern Guilford County as one of their 2 test sites and had 100%, they called it a one-shot kill, where the injection totally neutralized everything in the soil. So that's what was going on. Very neat people. They cleaned up, took everything with them. There's one piece of equipment I think left now. But all of that was what was going on. They worked with Guilford County to pull some permits for it that they needed, and Guilford County worked with them. Actually, we got one permit issued in less than 24 hours, just so Diener could roll. But that's what happened. But everybody that was asking, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? With that, we'll close the public comment session and move to council comments. Mr. Greason?
No comments.
Mr. Harton?
Bear with me, I'd like to revisit an unfortunate situation that occurred at our last council meeting. First, I'd like to read Mr. George McClellan's statement from that meeting. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm George McClellan.
Would you pull your...
I live at 2806 Oak Ridge Road, Oak Ridge, North Carolina. I just want to say, even though I am disappointed about the necessity to postpone the public hearing on the trail easement, I understand completely. And I do respect that you all, when you found out that there was an error, that you made the correction so we can have a good public hearing. Needless to say, I support the MST. I support the trails. I have absolutely no problem with the fact that a developer did agree to an easement on his property during the rezoning process, and I think our town staff has done an amazing job during that process. And that's all I want to say. Thank you very much. That's all. End of quote. Now, to me, that does not sound like the words of an idiot, expletive deleted intentionally. Mr. McClellan's comments were a sincere expression of understanding and appreciation. He was unaware, as most of us were on the dais, that moments before making his comments, other disparaging comments were whispered about him by a member of town council. Those comments might be considered idiotic, but I will leave that up to you. They were, however, hateful, irresponsible, unfortunate, and certainly unsuitable for any town council member to make about any Oak Ridge citizen, much less the mayor pro tem who was selected only 2 months before. Some may say this is no big deal, but I think it is. It certainly sets a low bar for behavior for this town council and probably all the town councils that preceded it. As town council members, we were elected to represent the best interest of all Oak Ridge citizens, not exclude citizens with whom we disagree. We will always have disagreements on issues facing the town, but we must stay focused on these issues and do so without expressing our personal feelings about individual citizens. So to Mr. McClellan, and as an elected town official, I offer my apology to you for this unfortunate situation, and I extend that apology to all the citizens of Oak Ridge. But I am also disappointed that there has been no apology offered to Mr. McClellan for more than a month. For that matter, I think an apology is due to the council and town staff and the citizens of Oak Ridge. That has not come in a timely or forthright way. What apologies that I have seen, and these have been shared with me, have indicated that I am sorry that you were offended, placing the ownership of offense on those offended. To me, this is a non-apology, since there was no acceptance of blame for saying the offensive remarks. There was no ownership of being the offender. Thus, essentially, these words are not worth the time to write down and send or to breathe or to utter. To my mind, this behavior is more damning than the offensive words said in council on February 1st. Previously, Mr. McClellan had publicly and graciously indicated that he would accept a quick apology, but after more than a month, that has not happened. George has only received a request to meet and chat over coffee, but no apology. I think that's unfortunate. I recently seen a very much delayed response from Mr. Stone, which I think was on Northwest Observer's Facebook page. It indicated that an attempt had been made to meet Mr. McClellan to talk over a cup of coffee. That may have been fine if a personal apology had preceded it. As previously stated, to me, that attempt also seemed to place the ownership of offense on those citizens who were offended. It did not say, "I'm sorry for the disparaging comments that I made." Lastly, there was a personal pledge of honor to represent the town in a manner its citizens deserved, without recognition that it was personal honor and the honor of this town council that Mr. Stone's hateful comments diminished. As a newly elected member of town council, I can not accept this behavior as a standard for this council. You as citizens deserve better. In my view, there has not been a sincere attempt at self-correction. Therefore, I think this council needs to take corrective action. With that in mind, I propose that a censure resolution be prepared for the next council meeting and that notice of censure be immediately provided to Mr. Stone. I'll end with a quote that I heard recently in an interview with former legendary Davidson basketball coach Bob McKillop, who said, "Confidence has to be in balance with humility. And when these two things are in harmony, that is when you can truly be a leader." I think Coach McKillop's observations are a lesson for all town council members. Thank you.
Ms. Schneider.
Well said, Councilman Harton. And thank you for raising the issue of censure, which is also on my mind. So I'll add my voice to yours. So my understanding from your comments is that we have now given public notice to Mayor Pro Tem Stone of alleged ethics violations per our Code of Ethics adopted in September of 2010, and that we will have an agenda item on our next meeting in April, where the resolution will be considered and where Mr. Stone will have the opportunity to be heard regarding the alleged violations. So we know, I think, what those violations were in a common way, but reading through the Code of Ethics, I want to review. The violations are that Mr. Stone's denigrating and disrespectful comments about a town resident who is also a former long-standing member of this body on which all of our efforts rest, on a live mic during February 1st violated the Code of Ethics in these ways. His comments undermined the, quote, public confidence in the integrity of the government required by the Code of Ethics. His comments ran counter to the stipulation that town council members, quote, act in a manner to maintain their integrity and independence, unquote, while being, quote, responsive to the interests and needs of those they represent. His comments violated town council members' quote, obligation to conform their behavior to standards of ethical conduct that warrant the trust of their constituents, unquote. That's all of you. Mr. Stone's behavior violated the code's guidance that, quote, town council members should demonstrate the highest standards of personal integrity, truthfulness, honesty, and fortitude in all of their public activities in order to inspire public confidence and trust in town government. Council members should also, quote, participate in establishing, maintaining, and enforcing, and should themselves observe high standards of conduct so that the integrity and independence of their office may be preserved. Mr. Stone also failed to comply with provisions that, quote, town council members should demand and contribute to the maintenance of order and decorum in proceedings before town council, and that town council members should be honest, patient, dignified, and courteous to those with whom they deal in their official capacity. So, public confidence, trust, integrity, independence, responsiveness, ethical conduct, highest standards, patience, courtesy, you heard it all came from the Code of Ethics. These are what's asked of those who represent our citizens on the town council. So, is Mr. Stone the only council member to ever use inappropriate language? No, he is not, but he is the only one I know of to use such language in a public meeting in these chambers. To add to the gravity, the meeting was recorded live and is available still on the town's YouTube channel. And Mr. Stone is the only one to use such language to denigrate a resident. As Mr. Stone will probably remind us, one other council member used inappropriate language in a public working meeting of council held in our conference room with only one member of the public in attendance. I was mayor at the time and stopped the meeting immediately and demanded that the council member in question apologize to all in attendance, to town staff, and individually to each of these members of council, staff, and the public. The council member in question did so promptly and sincerely. Although civility is always crucial to our proceedings, it seems far more understandable that two council members might disagree in the heat of the moment, particularly in a less formal meeting environment. Another distinguishing feature of that exchange was that it was with another council member, an equal, who could respond, and not with a resident who, in this case of this occurrence at last month's meeting, was dismissed as a expletive idiot before even hearing what he had to say. I would also add that a prompt and sincere apology changes everything. And on the subject of apologies, Mr. Harton has been clear about this, but as parents, think about what you teach your children. Most kids try all sorts of tricks, like, sorry, or I didn't do anything wrong, or it's her fault that I got mad. I didn't mean it. Nobody got hurt. It's her problem that she got upset. So forth. You've heard it all, but not usually from adults. One member, only one member of our community has said this doesn't matter because it wasn't intended to be overheard. I disagree. It doesn't fly because he was overheard. As Councilman Harton mentioned, a weak apology was offered that basically put the onus on those who were offended rather than making it a real apology. So it's on you if you were offended. As I taught my kids, apologies must be prompt, they must be sincere, specific, and made to all parties concerned, together with appropriate atonement. Mr. Stone has failed on all counts. At this point, I would like to formally request that he send a complete, sincere, and specific written apology to former council member George McClellan, to this town council, and that he read it to the citizens of Oak Ridge, to whom he also needs to apologize at our April meeting. But it's still woefully late, even if this happens. In that case, I plan to support a resolution of censure unless Mr. Stone chooses to step down as mayor pro tem before the censure proceedings, in which case I will not vote for censure. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I want to urge residents, especially chairs and members of our boards and committees, to review the agenda for the special called meeting on Monday, March 11th at 11 a.m. and to consider attending. While the agenda is broad, my understanding is that it is designed to present a number of ideas that I feel are very questionable that would over-bureaucratize our committee structure and our council's operations. In that sense, I believe that it conveys a profound sense of distrust of our current committees and practices and seeks to add policies that could very well discourage resident participation in our committees. I think this is a political move. Nothing about our committees is broken. Far from it. Our resident-led committees, fueled by enthusiastic volunteers, lie at the heart of our success as a community. There's simply no need to revamp how they operate or introduce unnecessary policies that would restrict our committee members or our council members in their rights as citizens. Although council members, all of us, were invited to submit agenda items for this meeting, I chose not to do so because I believe that we already have appropriate policies in place. And although a few potential agenda items were mentioned by Mayor Kinnaman at previous meetings, I was shocked to see the extent and nature of the items being considered, the majority of which appear to have more to do with personal vendettas than with sound policies and best practices. Finally, on a happier note, for those of you who celebrate, I wish you a happy Easter later this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few comments about last month's meeting. What transpired was inexcusable and inappropriate. regardless of whether it was meant to be heard or not. It was a comment that shouldn't have been mentioned, spoken at all in this chamber, at all. As to our code of ethics, it was pointed out that the one example they gave of a previous member of council uttering a expletive against another member of council, that occurred to me. That was in a public meeting. Granted, it was not a well-attended meeting, but it was still a public meeting, and it was still a meeting where you can get the recording of that. In actuality, that member of council has had a disrespectful conversation with a member of the public. It was in the paper. He had a conversation after a meeting with a member of the Youth Association. He did apologize for that. There was also a meeting, which was a council briefing, where that member also called another member, recently elected member, an expletive. And in that meeting, as far as I know, there was no apology approached. So we probably have been a little bit uneven in applying our code of ethics. The code of ethics does not say that the behavior was in a public meeting or a private meeting or just with a certain amount of people around them. So I am a little concerned that the code of ethics may be applied more about who said it than what was said, because this prior member of council on 3 separate occasions violated our code of ethics as spoken by Ms. Schneider. Basically, the things that were listed in that code of ethics stated that behavior was unacceptable. And this member of council repeatedly have done it 3 times, okay? Now, this is not excusing Mr. Stone's behavior. I have no problem with a censure statement next month. I actually have no problem with that whatsoever. What he said was completely inappropriate and inexcusable. But if we're going to apply the code of ethics evenly and fairly, shouldn't we have applied that code of ethics to a prior member of council who repeatedly used vulgar phrasing to another member of this town? It doesn't matter that I am a member of council. Do I get less respect because I'm a member of council just because someone threw the vulgarity at me? I don't believe so. Neither does the member of the Youth Association, and neither does Mr. Stone. The fact that he received this. So if we're going to apply our code of ethics, let's be careful and make sure we're applying it evenly. Because right now, it can be very easily seen as it's more about who said it and not what was said. Because we did not choose to apply it previously. And like I said, there's one very specific case where where this disrespect was directed toward a member of the Youth Association. And that clearly was a resident. And I received it, and it was in public. Now, I asked the press not to publish it. In hindsight, I probably should have had them publish it. Because it's important to understand that if we're going to apply this code of ethics, we need to apply it evenly. And like I said, I am 100% in support of a censure motion next month. What Mr. Stone did was inappropriate and inexcusable. His apologies definitely fall short. So I think we need to be very careful about how we apply the code of ethics. It needs to be done evenly, but we don't need to be excusing repeated behavior by a prior member of council. This is repeated behavior, not a single occurrence, but a repeated behavior. Okay? With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Yes, sir. He had a chance to. Yeah.
No comment.
He actually the first
I was
chance.
the first one.
He was the first one. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.